changing over now. This is the second half of the episode. We're on the our top 5 lists here.
Yeah, it's about to get a little more positive, a little punchier.
This is shit that I like. This is stuff that I have often brought up, actually.
It is the opposite of I don't like. There's no more Chief Keef around.
Several episodes have gotten segments about a couple of the things present in this particular, for my list at the very least, because I will not stop talking about a couple of these. There will not be a whole lot of surprise, and I'm sure you've already guessed one or two of them already.
Oh yeah,
if you've been paying any attention.
You guys might have noticed that we've got a bit of a mode here.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, we do sometimes try to highlight the positive or notable or just shit we think people should watch. Except for the odd occasion where everyone's watching it. And even sometimes when everyone is fucking watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm done spoiling our own program.
You want to go first or should I?
I'll go first. I feel like you love your number one enough that it'll make a good closer.
Sure.
My number 5 here. It's Attack on Titan. You've seen it. I've talked about it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even have new jokes about Attack on Titan. I've told you about the time I went to a mall with a bunch of Attack on Titan stuff. I'm out of shit. I am nothing else. Sam, 5.
So I thought it was appropriate that the number 5 spot on my top 5 list be, be kind of, like a mirror image, I guess, of the number 5 spot on my bottom 5 list. Mm-hmm. And with that, I'm saying my number 5 entry for my top 10 anime of the last 10 years, it's motherfucking Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt. Holy fucking shit. This thing killed every single second. I loved it. Its animation was beautiful. Its soundtrack was fucking beautiful. Its message, what little, like what you could glean from, the very minimalistic approach that it took was fucking beautiful. It was this fucking story about what violence does to people. It was a story about the meat grinder that is warfare. That is warfare in in the 20th and 21st century, and this imagined, I think, the universal century.
What's a 2300 something like that?
Well, it started with Universal Century 00. And then this is the 79th year. I cannot remember, honestly, when they transitioned to the UC calendar.
By the way, I don't endorse violence against us for any of our opinions, but for the Gundam trivia we often get wrong, feel free to do a whole John Lennon thing.
Yeah, you could absolutely take me down for that. I won't mind.
I understand.
It is to my shame that I am missing information here. My favorite moment from that, besides that great final fight, the great final fight where he just throws everything he fucking has at this Zaku and can't fucking kill him, which was, oh god, it was just such a lovely fucking moment. Oh god, and the moment in the second season when he's drowning, god, something just fucking hit. The jazz was so fucking perfect in this series. It is this ordered chaos. It is this It is done on the fly, right? This is freeform jazz. It's made up as you go along, as is, this violence that defines these people's lives. It works so fucking perfectly.
It has what I think is one of my favorite, at least in terms of raw choreography and the tech on screen, mech fights in anything.
Yeah. It's fucking anything. At the end of the first season, right?
Yeah.
God, yes. No, it's fucking perfect. I cannot... This is the show, like, if you are into Gundam, or if you want to be into Gundam, this is the show that is easily, far and away, the best entry point you could hope for into it. Because it so encapsulates everything that the Gundam franchise is about, which is that people... it's about two different things. The Gundam franchise, to me, has always been about two different things. Number one, people will always find a new reason to kill one another. And number two, people will always find new ways to kill one another. That is the thrust of human history in the eyes of the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. And when it forgets this, it's bad. But when it remembers this, it's fantastic. It's like nothing else. And the Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt remembers this. It is at the core of what makes this show great, and it is at the core of what this show's identity is. It's about people who have found yet another new reason to hate one another and to kill one another, and who have found these horrible new ways in which to do so.
Oh, and if I could move us away from our elegant butterflies, the animation is real purdy-like.
It's so fucking Kino, guys.
It's a good-looking show. I felt sensual stirrings that weren't happening any of the sexual pandering in the
It
bottom five
it
list.
it made me so fucking happy to watch this show fucking work. Oh my.
Yeah,
All right.
and I know it's good to see pristine Universal, not pristine Universal Century material. When you said it was accessible, a lot of the great Gundam shows aren't particularly
Are not
accessible.
particularly accessible. I agree with
Whereas
that.
you
Even
could,
the first series is not too amazingly accessible because
that
of how
is
dated it has become.
that,
Unfortunately,
that's really true. That's why the Origin is actually also a good jumping on
yes,
point.
absolutely, I would recommend the Origin. It just missed this list.
Yeah, the Origin as a comic book. Oh shit, maybe I should have put that on. Oh, too late now. Fuck that up. Okay, moving on, folks. Number 6, Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin, the comic book series adapting the first Gundam series, and I don't know, maybe it would have been redundant anyway. Farther up March.
Number 4.
So, number 4 from Denard Dale. I clearly have far too much input into what becomes an episode and what doesn't, because my number 4 here is fucking Prison School. Prison School. What didn't I talk about last time? One thing that I like about the experience of reading, watching Prison School is that it reminds me that I am not a prudish school marm, because we are in a dimension of pure poop nipple punch jokes. And they are just so well done and intelligently constructed and delivered that I am just there rolling on the floor like I'm fucking 14 again.
I feel like Prison School was, to me, I don't want to say too much. It was a show that made me feel far more comfortable with my ability and desire to laugh at really fucking stupid ass subject matter.
Yeah.
Like, I love shit jokes these days, and I credit Prison School with telling me that that's okay, that shit jokes are really funny if they're done well.
And, I know. I consider myself a satire specialist, if you don't mind. Fuck off, I'm published. So, I have certain things that are in the back of my head as just these perfect comic moments.
Yes.
Like, there's a Paul Beatty's not self-insert. Hi, Professor. Paul Beatty's not self-insert in the second chapter of his book getting experimented on by his dad.
Oh, fuck, I fucking love this so much. I read it on
yeah.
the plane to Ireland a couple years ago, and
Yeah.
people were looking at me because I could not fucking control myself.
That's one of those crescendo moments. Another one is, and it's so simple, but just Milo Mindbender bombing their own base in fucking Catch-22. That entire scene, I was laughing in the middle of Jamaica. They're trying to do some kind of ceremony in the other room, and I'm just rolling at this sequence.
The Dipper Gut Punch.
The Dipper Gut Punch in Gravity Falls, for me, privately, is one of those, and
I have my own favorite gag from Gravity Falls. It was, but we're not on me right now.
another perfect gag to my humble brain was the makeover gag in Clone High, which, instead of describing it, I would recommend you just watch that episode of Clone High that pops up when you Google that. The point is that I have given like different things single entries in this, and Prison School I think has 2.
I'm pretty sure it has 2, maybe 3.
Like there's a stock exchange gag, which I won't describe more than that. Just read fucking Prison School.
Just read it's the Wall Street gag. Just the keyword is Wall Street.
And
read it.
competing Kyoshi Hana gags, which I'm not even gonna fucking describe it. Just read it. I spoiled all that other shit. Go in there, read Prison School. Actually, maybe watch it so you get the piano. Read, watch, to taste.
Watch it until, you run out of anime and then continue on with the manga. It's so fucking beautifully drawn.
Oh yeah, it is really well drawn. Like this is, some hands are experienced, some hands are talented. This is a talented, experienced hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, good on the dude. How the hell was that weekly? Is he a slave?
I don't know how he fucking did it.
That is terrifying.
He's such a fantastic draftsman. I don't know how he did it. Number 4 for me. There is a genre that has yet to go out of style, that has produced as many good entries as it has mediocre, kind of bland entries, and even one or two truly shitty entries, which is weird given its inoffensive nature. I speak of the Slice of Life series, of which,
Mm.
I've watched dozens at this point. Usually they're pretty relaxing, and I think this entry is basically just the best possible version of the Slice of Life, right? It takes an interesting setting, um, populates it with really well done, compelling characters, and then puts them through their paces. Actually has the story has time pass by, or it has time passing them by as they grow older and more mature, and they figure out what they're doing with their lives, and seek better things for themselves, as they come of age, as they begin, the main characters all begin, I believe, in high school, like the beginning of high school. In the manga currently, they are all beginning college, and they more or less have where they want to go figured out, or maybe they don't, because that is, the thing about youth, is that you never truly know. You were absolutely certain until you're delivered a curveball.
Yeah, I've
and,
only
and
known
that's
what I
and
want to
that's
do for 90% of my life.
and that's why I love this series so much, because it includes all of those ups and downs, and all of those moments where you're so sure, and all of those moments when you have no idea, and these moments when you're blindsided by fate, and these moments when you discover something you love. I'm sorry, I'm doing a whole lot of hand wringing. This is the anime slash manga Silver Spoon by Hiromu Arakawa, who you of course should know from Full Metal Alchemist. This is her second big manga. I
Ah.
think she worked on the Heroic Legend of Arslan as well. But this is I don't believe that she wrote that one, or I can't remember what it was. But Silver Spoon is a series that takes place at a an agriculturally focused high school, like farm school, where a directionless young man goes, not really knowing what else to do, and wanting to get away from Sapporo. The whole place takes place in Hokkaido, where Hiromu Arakawa grew up.
It's gotta be
One
rough having that drinking problem.
mm,
I'm great. Go
You're
on.
great. Where he's trying to get away from his family, who, his dad has his own ideas about what he's supposed to be doing. And goes to the school somewhat on a lark. And he finds both who he is and what he wants. Throughout the course of the story, as well as just all the challenges of being in a world that you need to be in, but does not necessarily need you to be in it. It's a very good, like, millennial coming of age story in that way. That spoke to me quite a bit. It's a sort of a story about, kind of finding your people as well. It's so many things, and it's so damn heartfelt and funny. The character designs are so good. The humor is so good natured and lighthearted. It's never too amazingly dark. It's a show that just kind of makes you feel real warm when you watch it, and
Ah.
it made me feel just a little bit better about sort of who I was and what I want. I still don't know what the hell I want. That's probably why I like this show as much as I did, because I am as still at 27 as directionless as its protagonist was at 14. Um, he figured his shit out by the time he was 17. God, I wish we could all say the same. Um, but it's fine.
I'm just rocking back and forth gently.
I cannot recommend this story enough. There are all these moments of uncertainty in it, all of these moments of where you get these setbacks, that happen in life, and they make the moments of these tiny little triumphs feel so fucking momentous and huge. It's you should read this. You should all read this. It'll make you feel better about life.
Something else.
Go ahead with your three.
So, I almost was a pretentious fucking pandering person, didn't put this on my list. But I looked at hours of my life, fucking pound for pound. Hours enjoyment, pound for pound. I think these top 10 lists should reflect experience. So I've become what we call macro pretentious and meta pretentious, omni pretentious. I look down upon the critics and say, how trifling indeed. What I'm trying to get at here is that after consuming both the current anime and the recent manga stuff, the amount of time I've invested into fucking Araki's brain, it's like the JoJo stuff. The JoJo stuff. This is like, I guess, I don't know, JoJo part 7-8 manga slash all the current anime nonsense that's going on right now, and I don't know. I can't stop. I guess this is just my life now. I just think about stands. I don't talk about as much as some people. Or maybe I do. Maybe I don't even notice. I think the people even think they're talking about it. I think...
We both have Joestar tattoos. The exact same one. We got them on the same day.
And I don't know. I think it's like having it's like having Tourette's. You just wake up, you're subscribed to fucking Stardust Crusaders memes or whatever. What's it called?
You hear Giorno's piano in your head every time you're about to win something.
Yeah, it is.
You drop into a pose just reflexively. Are we the worst fan base on Earth? No, absolutely not. It's K-pop.
We have not launched intifadas against individuals for disliking us, to my awareness, at the very least. Maybe someone took a Dio joke the wrong way. I don't fucking know.
Oh man, Weeaboo hell is overpowered. You're about to be fucking trending.
So yeah,
come at me, fuck all you people.
Yeah, for me, the JoJo stuff is and continues to be something special. K-pop is the musical equivalent of the Charmin Man commercials.
No, it's
in terms of agency involvement.
No, there's too many words there. K-pop is the equivalent of a commercial. It is a commercial for itself, designed not by musicians but by suits to sell. And you buy. True. You're not a stan, you're a customer. Stop coming up with cool words for yourself.
I mean, I admire your dedication like a very well-trained farm animal. You come to the trough, you emerge from the pool of your own shit to come feed at the trough, which is half manure itself. Like, they recycle, they're trying to reduce their carbon footprint because, it's dirty business farming sometimes. And they feed you fresh BTS knockoffs.
Weeaboo hell is over party.
Weeaboo hell is over party.
Let's come fucking get it. Number 3 for me. Unless you were not.
No. I mean, I think I've said my piece about what's good about it. Honestly, JoJo's so incredibly discussed.
Yeah, it's like what is there to say at this point?
Just to say that it made its mark on me too. I continue to enjoy it, and in case you haven't noticed, I don't enjoy everything. I dislike a lot of things. I dislike a lot of things in this room in my home. I might burn them later, but I won't burn my JoJo stuff. Also, I have the dumb star tattoo. On to you.
Number 3 is I'm noticing another coming of age story because I guess I just really like those. This was a little anime from 2011. So just very, very, very beginning of the decade here that happened, and then it was over. It was like 11 or 12 episodes long. It was easily the best ghost story I've ever consumed, be it film or book or show or
That says something. Hill House Friends BTFO. Continue.
Well, it's a very heartfelt ghost story too. This is not a horror anime by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm talking about is Anohana, the flower we saw that day, which is kind of an anime smark favorite. I'm probably not the only one who loved this as much as I did.
Sometimes good is good.
It just fucking did it for me. Like, it hit all the right notes. This is a story about a teenage boy who is suddenly contacted by the ghost of his friend who died about 5 years ago. The two of them were a member of a very tight-knit group of friends who, when she died, all kind of drifted their separate ways, kind of avoiding their grief, all in their various different ways. Sublimating it, because what can you do when you're 9? and
Mm.
like one of your closest friends dies, you don't know how to deal with that. You're not equipped to deal with that yet. People don't even begin to understand. People don't really understand death until they are a teenager. So here are these five or six kids who have all just become very unhealthy, maladjusted people in the time since the death of their friend, sort of being forced back together by the reappearance of this friend's ghost. Now, I think it's a plot bit. He's the only one who can see her, so like a good portion of this series is him trying to convince his friends that he's not insane, that she is really there, that she is trying to finish her unfinished business that ghosts have, right? In its conception, this is a very simple show. It doesn't do too many like new things in terms of like how ghosts work, that sort of thing. But in practice, it is this heartbreakingly beautiful story about grief and what we do with it and what it does to us and how to sort of reconcile the unthinkable. It's about regrets. It's about being in love for the first time in your life. It's about hoping for like that second time afterwards. It's this fantastic affirmation of life, and I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you did not watch it. It super made me ugly cry towards the end. Oh my god.
Not an everyday thing, despite the torrent of insults from every direction.
Right? I wish that I could see. I wish that we could have another show like Anohana. And honestly, we've only gotten one thing that I felt was hit those notes the way that it did. But I'm going to be talking about that later. And so it's just this beautiful series about all the things I talked about and just about like the friends you had when you were kids. Um, which that I guess I don't know if I miss being young more than the average person does. But I feel like that might be one of the reasons that I like this show as much as I do. And it is a show about kind of missing that as well, and like
Well,
the sort of the regrets that you end up with as you start to get older, and like you start to realize more and more things about the world and how it works and how you are as a person. I Again, I cannot recommend this enough, and I think I might be due for a rewatch, honestly, as I say this.
that's really emotionally resonant. Like, that stuff about nostalgia and that show really speaking to nostalgia. And my number two pick is sort of similar emotional territory. Like, it reminds me of when I was younger and I was a detective enslaved by a police state to hunt down other potential criminals. And it was hard growing up that way, but luckily I had a spunky but potentially slowly being corrupted by the system detective who was a free woman to guide me through it. And we had sort of a complex character dynamic. And my number two choice is Psychopaths, is my point here. I'm a big sci-fi head, hard, soft. I go both ways. And Psychopaths, I thought, I have no idea what the fuck the objective best is. I'm sure the shit I haven't seen. I'm down to see more. In terms of things that pushed my particular buttons, Psychopaths did a lot of things. I've always enjoyed good executions of the sort of thriller tone. I've always been a huge. It doesn't have a lot of the usual cyberpunk concerns, but the world itself is very passively information soaked.
I absolutely loved how great of a mystery it was.
That was an excellent element of it too.
Like is the whole fucking thing was just like this one big mystery. It was this one big arc. It played out beautifully. I thought
Yeah.
you're kind of kept you're kind of kept guessing the entire time. You never feel too insulted by a twist ever, or you never at all feel insulted by a twist that comes out of nowhere. That doesn't really happen. Everything kind of figures
Yeah,
real nice.
I definitely appreciated that about it too. The characters are just excellently well balanced, conceived, delivered.
It is a sci-fi in the for the age, or it is a sci-fi for the mass shooting era that we live in.
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely deals with that concern of just waiting for people to fucking crack, and
Yeah.
what is the appropriate response to that? How do you do that within pining on human freedom? Do I give a shit about human freedom if people are getting shot? Oh shit, there goes my human freedom.
That's a really fantastic, like 21st century story there.
There are places where it's subtle, places where it's not. And you know what? On the layers where it's not, you don't have to be subtle about the Stop handing everything over to systems you don't understand. Those are my woke claps. Okay. And I thought it delivered that theme very well. The main villain is an execution of a classic archetype that sucks monkey 98 out of 100 times, so I appreciated that. He is very much a joking man, but it I don't know. When it's good,
When
it's
it's
good.
good, yeah. When it works.
And so, I don't know. It's very specifically a show marketed towards Denard Dale, so it's kind of almost an unfair power ranking. Like, if this is that part of the award show, people start throwing shit at the screen and talking about the Academy, but I don't know. Psychopath is right there for me.
All right. Number two for Sam Lego.
Two, dose, ni. I took Japanese for like 4 years and I still
Prison
suck.
school, guys. It's prison school, guys. Denard has been over why he loves prison school as much as he does, and as I agreed with all of his points about Sword Online, which we shared on our list, so do I agree about prison school. But I did want to add a few things. Prison school was for me just this perfect sort of encapsulation of everything that is awful about being a teenager. It is everything that is painful and humiliating about going through a high school with a perpetual erection just because your body has decided that it is going to be a certain way, even if you do not feel a certain way. You are not in control anymore. It is your hormones in control. It is the hormones of your peers who are in control. They are cruel. They are capricious. They will not let you get out of this with your dignity intact. That is what high school is. That is what the experience is. It is all these confused, scared people being cruel to each other because it's the only way they know how to be, because teenagers are fucking sociopaths.
It's wild up there, folks.
And that is why I love prison school as much as I do, because it understands that so amazingly well. Yes, it very much exaggerates the behaviors and attitudes of teenagers, but it does so with a very good understanding of teenage psychology. It also, as an asexual person, it also feels like a really funny condemnation of hypersexualization in media in general and manga in particular. Yes, it does participate in this, but it does so in a way that makes you feel actively uncomfortable as you're reading it.
It has a unique gaze.
It does. It is a manga that is calling you a pervert for reading it. It's almost accusing you of still being controlled by your hormones. Like whether you are still a teenager or whether you are in your 30s, right? It is condemning you for this, and like I love how much it condemns you for it. I love how I do not resent the accusations. I appreciate the accusations. It feels very much like this condemnation of the human condition in ways. I know I'm being like that's like a super fucking like high-minded, like I'm making a jacking off motion right now, kind of way of going about putting it, but I don't.
Hey man, if a top of the decade list isn't the time to get all meta high-minded, when is, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It can offset some of the awful shit I said during the Arrow manga sensei bit.
Certainly, yeah. And yeah, no, for my money as well. I have a list of like the top 5 times, or the top 5 hardest spats of laughter I have ever, gone through in my life. And this, I think, yeah, probably occupies about 2 spaces on that.
It's really fucking impressive.
Well, one of them was from Gravity Falls as well. It wasn't the Dipper Gut Punch. It was the Goldie coin op machine.
Oh, that was great.
One of them was literally just 2 weeks ago when we all took edibles and saw cats.
I think I almost died.
Because I think that might actually just occupy the number 1 space, because for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't remember how long that film was. I don't know that it had a beginning.
Dude,
or
I can't
end
watch
or,
anything of Judi Dench
I
again.
don't know. I was laughing the entire time, but besides the point. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that this manga was so singularly hilarious, and on top of all of that, on top of like this great portrayal of what it is to be a teenager, right? What it's like to have those sort of hormones controlling you more than you control
To
yourself.
look down at your developing body and say
And
traitor.
say, ah! It's this show that hurts in such a great way. It's also, on top of all of that, fantastic suspense. I remember reading through, being halfway through one particular arc, and realizing what absolute pains it takes to track the movements of individual objects across the story. The import that they have on both the suspense, the characters' motivations, and like the eventual outcome of the story, right, or of that particular arc or of that particular plot line. Like this show tracks a fucking pair of panties. And like, I swear to God, this
Like
is
a
the same.
goddamn detective novel.
This is the same guy, right? Who just 20 minutes ago was railing against the very concept of fan service, being used as this like Emperor's New Clothes to like to kind of try and mask poor or lazy writing. But no,
The eternal crutch.
in this case, it is so amazingly folded into the motivations of the characters. I'm not doing a good enough job because I'm doing this anime a disservice right now because I'm gushing so hard, and in my gushing, I'm becoming inarticulate. This show has such a fucking relationship with human sexuality, and one's sexuality when they're a teenager. You got to read it to understand what I'm saying here. I guess I know that's a bit of a cop out here, but there's something about prison school that is funny and painful. And is it relevant? I don't think relevant is quite the term. It's not like a social critique. I guess it kind of is, but like there's something that it understands that I cannot put into words. It has such je ne sais quoi to it.
Yeah, it definitely has the heightened texture of daily life in that fucking Milu.
One of these days, I'm going to reread it or rewatch Prison School and then rewatch MILF Isekai. Two of these shows where you could describe them both as egregious and audacious, right? And I'm going to figure out why Prison School works as well as it does and why MILF Isekai is as terrible as it is. And
Look out next year, people, because he's going to release a non-fiction book about it.
it'll be long.
It will be long. It'll be a treatise. It might be a manifesto. A building may be, No, Denard, don't say jokes about someone bombing a building on your podcast. Unless it's yourself. I can do that to me. I might bomb a building. All right, so...
Jesus. Go for it.
Maybe we should do our number one. So, once again, in my approach to this, I thought more about individual resonance. And this thing blew the fuck up recently, which is a pleasant surprise for me. I barely heard the anime was coming, because I'm generally bad at keeping my ear to the ground lately. I don't know, I need to get back into the community, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple communities. At least get with the fucking breakdowns, the common people. Whatever, that's my life. But once again, when I was making my list, I was thinking more about individual impact, individual resonance, and you enjoy your entertainment as you get older, but most of the time it doesn't quite feel that same way when you're in, like, I don't know, middle school, high school, college. Like that feeling of discovery, like entering something like, oh, this is changing the way I look at things, the way I think, or even just like, I don't know, I'm reading someone rambling about fucking hobbits for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading the comic, manga, whatever have you, for Vinland Saga, I legitimately had that feeling like I was exploring a world in a different kind of way for the first time. And I can't even, not to say that this is something like incredibly different on a narrative front, but maybe it was just like that artfully done that I felt like that I managed to capture that feeling of stepping, I don't know, somewhere else. I guess I got that feeling from this. And if you're not familiar with Vinland Saga, simply put, it's a comic about a Viking and his relationship with revenge, which might not be what you think it is from the kind of things I picked in the other slots. And the journey literally and figuratively, that takes him on. And I have been with this comic for some time, and I have felt rewarded by the investment throughout. I am normally a model employee, and the director of the agency could walk by my desk and just see on my second monitor just fucking Vinland Saga over there. I'm still reading through it. It's like, I'm not gonna stop for your fucking ads. What the fuck do you think this is? I guess you can tell that it had some kind of mark on me because I realized I haven't made a hyper funny in at least a minute and 40 seconds, and that is unusual for me. I will be doing that shit when like my friends stop dropping off at funerals and I have to start giving speeches. I hope they're Irish style because otherwise I'm gonna get in some fucking trouble.
I can have mine be Irish style.
Oh, thank fuck. I know your cardio's better though. You might outlive me. My point is, Vinland Saga is an excellent watch, an amazing read. Go to Viking Town, and I should say in the balance of elements, by the way, something I didn't capture of this. I just made this thing sound super serious all time, and it is not. It is a rollicking historical tale, action, comedic often. It does that interesting thing a lot of Japanese historical fiction does where they're very dedicated to the texture of day-to-day life, but they are totally still willing to just go over the top and embrace action tropes in the action segments, which I actually think works well to the balance of elements in this story.
Certainly.
I think it adds something. I think it adds another front for engagement, and ultimately a certain type of non-realist violence is really just going for more of a mode of storytelling. It's why I become a lot more forgiving of the pace of a certain type of fight across comic books. Like, they're more about trying to convey and progress elements of character through the Valtolian foot. Which isn't to say that Vinland Saga falls under that trope. It actually goes through its action rather briskly, but you'll understand it when you see it. The action is still very over the top and sort of has a lot of sort of
violent.
like violent, also violent, and there is a guy who lives for violence and thinks that's an intelligent way to live, and it thinks a little more about that. What I'll say about Vinland Saga.
Askeladd is a cool name for a bad guy.
Askeladd is a cool name for a bad guy, yes. And that is a character arc that goes places. The main character's character arc goes places. There's something when you come in contact with the main character that you might assume is a little generic. I normally won't throw this card to a series, but trust is one to play the long game on that. It takes that places.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's very Russian book in that you would describe the concept very differently after you've been through the halfway point than if you're describing it before then.
Okay, sure.
It does a sort of little mini table flip. And that is my presentation about Vinland Saga.
Fantastic. Before I get to my number one, I've got also my honorable mentions. A whole lot of these are I had to kind of go back here. A number of these are going to be kind of later in the decade kind of stuff. A couple of them are from this year too, because 2019 was a really fucking good year for anime, I felt.
It was.
It had a couple instant classics there, a couple of whom made this list. But I'm just gonna kind of get into it. Honorable mentions for the decade. Promised Neverland was fucking Stephen King does anime, and I mean, anime does Stephen King, and it was fucking beautiful, tonally just perfect. The information warfare thing is a thing that I'm super fucking into. It's like it started with Death Note, I feel like, and like it's this sort of mini genre, and like all the entries who have cropped up, I've loved. Erased. God, I fucking loved Erased. I even loved its stupid fucking ending that wasn't there in the manga. It was so perfectly suspenseful. It was so wonderfully directed. I didn't really gather my thoughts about Erased prior to this. I'm kind of doing this off the cuff right now. There's something deeply discomforting about watching this show in such a great way. It makes you feel unsafe. It's wonderful. It's like, how could you feel safe if you're, like this 11-year-old who's trying to catch a serial killer who could very easily fucking kill you because you're an 11-year-old.
Moment.
Silver Spoon actually ended up on my top 5 list. Nichi Bros.
Nietzsche Bros is a
Danchi
laugh
Koku
factor.
no Nichijo. Oh, what a fucking laugh right of a show. That's like one of those other shows that kind of gets another aspect of being a teenager. This is less it has less to do with, the raging hormones and social embarrassment and, like how awful it fucking is to be around your peers. And this is more about just being so fucking bored all the
Oh,
goddamn
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Just having nothing to fucking do because you're broke and you don't have that many friends. And it's hot and your parents don't give you any money. You So what you do is all that you can do. You just fucking talk bullshit with your friends.
It definitely captures the entire fucking around spectrum.
Um and it's side splitting every fucking time. Lupin the Third, just all of the Lupin the Third that has happened this decade. I think there's been at least 2 or 3 parts. I think parts 4 and 5 at the very least. The woman called Fujiko Ime. It's so fucking good. I love Lupin. Lupin is I don't know why it hasn't crossed over more in the States. It's this perfect
Lupin
marriage.
actually had kind of a moment when we were in middle to high school where it was sort of hot with people in the States. Like, it was sort of an Adult Swim kind of mainstay.
God, I don't remember that too well.
It was like that whole late night, like, Big O kind of block.
I mean, I only discovered it later on, like
Ah.
when I was in college, and just as an adult, been watching it. But it's this perfect fucking marriage of the Pink Panther and James Bond.
Yes.
And it is so consistently fun, so jump inable. So like the character writing is always so consistent and strong, and it always feels fresh, even when they rehash things, and they often do. I cannot tell you like
Recycling is wonderful for the environment.
I can't tell you how many references there are to the Castle of Cagliostro in in a given episode of Lupin the Third.
It's their Montreal screw job.
But I would, of course, yeah, no, for real. I would recommend anyone watch Lupin the Third. It's the most fun you will have. It's so just easy to watch. It's easy to enjoy. Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron Blooded Orphans. This got
Oh,
edged
man.
out by Thunderbolt because pound for pound or proportionately, Thunderbolt is better. Iron Blooded Orphans was such a non-standard story in the Gundam
I was
franchise.
legitimately impressed by a lot of Iron Blooded Orphans. I never expected to see a Gundam show pick up the structure, themes, and content of a fucking archetypical crime film
Oh
and
yeah,
dole it out the
you're
way it
talking
did.
about like
This is my
Scarface,
this is
right?
my this is my personal private I mean, I shouldn't say private theory because I thought it was just a thing, but no one really talks about it that way
I
that
didn't
much.
get that so much from it. What I really
Well, it's a
got
structural
from
thing. Like, if you look at the
I would rate your paper an A in this case.
ah,
I rate your paper an A. I do think you could argue that it has like that kind of crime drama structure. For me, what what I loved about it was okay, like early on in the show's run, the first time we hear the first ED to the show, and we just hear orphans and
oh
or
no!
orphans tears, and we knew from the end of the first episode exactly what the 50th episode was going to happen, or exactly what was going
Yeah.
to happen in the 50th episode, and nothing that ended up happening towards the end of the series was at all that surprising, right? But that's not a point against the show because there's this air of inevitability about everything, about just like a car crash happening in slow motion, as these really young people who didn't deserve any of this but came to deserve all of it, who like if they just had a chance in another life, none of this would have happened, as they edge closer and closer towards their own destruction, their own bloody ends that they create for themselves. It's so great.
Really
And
is.
there are things about it, little things that didn't work so well. There are things about it that maybe I'd go back and change, but like ultimately, and it was great fucking fight choreography throughout. I mean, that
Yes,
is of course
yes.
very important. I remember watching this and seeing the influence of a certain show for the first time. We'll get into what that show was, or not for the first time, but seeing it for the first time in like a really pronounced, really well done way. Um, anyway,
Well, find its own
um,
identity. Yeah.
yeah, Hero Aka. My Hero Academia. It's just it's just great. It's just like
What
this
is there to
distillate.
say about?
What can you say about the man who? Yeah, what would you give the man who has everything? It's this fantastic distillation of the shonen formula.
It feels like reading on like those freaking 70s Spider-Man comics again in a way.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Foundations, action adventure. There's clearly a brain behind it. The brain has opinions.
Yeah,
Interestingly, not that loud about them. It's like his opinions play bass.
it's true. It's Horikoshi Kohei seems to be such a lifelong fan of shonen manga, but he understands the things that do not work about it. And has seems to be striving in everything he does to fix those issues in the little ways that he can. Like it's clear that he likes, the big boys, Naruto and Bleach and Dragon Ball, way more than I honestly do. I can appreciate some Dragon Ball here and there, but I do not think very much of Naruto or Bleach. He loves them. It's clear that he loves them, but he thinks, yeah, but I feel like there's this one thing that I could maybe, and then he does that, and it makes just a world of difference. What have you got to say about it?
Well, I mean, there was that old Spider-Man comment. Hero Academia, in terms of how it sort of mastered this little Mailu and tone, it reminded me, the whole shonen thing can just be good and fun and enjoyable.
Yeah,
B, it partially reminded me I don't really need to be a miserable fuck all the time.
yeah, absolutely.
I had a phase, a little wombo combo of negative events in a chain, and
Just
it
one or
just
two of them.
it just cast a very positive shadow there. I appreciate that about it. I will always have a spot in my heart for just the sort of, I need a better term for it than like Foundation's adventure story, but it really is like simple storytelling done
Yeah.
well. Like, I don't know, some people will make hour-long YouTube videos about the depths hiding within the narrative. I don't really approach it so much that way. It's more like, I don't know, you ever seen a guy jump a motorcycle?
Yeah. What I find is that, like, in contrast to other, long running shonen action stuff, it's not fucking frustrating to get through. Like, I remember watching Naruto right before I knew better, and just feeling so goddamn blue balled by it all the time. Where I'm like, I know that the good part is coming up. Would you just fucking get to it already? It felt like they were stalling for fucking time, waiting for the fucking Big Four pay-per-view. And they never do that. It's so. I hate the word fucking pacing. I fucking hate the word pacing so goddamn much because it's the most like the most.
I mean,
like,
it's a word of an application of meaning. It's like epic.
it's
Remember, epic means something
well,
very
it's
epic.
a word
narrative.
that you use when you want to sound like you know what you're talking about. But like it's so much better paced than a lot of shonen. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with an emphasis on Diamond is Unbreakable is another honorable mention for me.
Super fun.
It's the number 6 spot. It just got edged out by but I don't know if I said if anything else was the number 6, but I don't think so. It just got edged out by Thunderbolt, and only just. I mean, I've got the same fucking Joestar tattoo on my shoulder that Denard does.
It reminds me to do my overhead press, even though I hate it.
Like this goddamn show is part of me. No, that's
lymph
on your
nodes.
trap. It's like the one where you lift like this.
I'm gonna go curse real quickly.
Yeah, the overhead. That's this right here. Overhead press is the front of your shoulders. The back
Well,
of your shoulders.
I've
is
got
like,
some real nice shoulders, people. I just fucked up a little bit. No, I do lots of
Okay,
people.
yeah,
I'm not making basic
the
fucking
trap stuff,
bodybuilding errors.
And
By the way, this is the most weightlifting talk you are ever going to hear on an anime podcast. Should we talk about carb cycling? No, let's move on.
no, we'll move on. There's again little to say about JoJo that hasn't been said already. I think I appreciate part 4 the most because they introduced the stand concept in part 3, and it's fighty boy time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of like the idea of you have this shonen, I guess, seinen shit going on with like nuanced power sets that's been just copied endlessly, in years since, and you do something different with that. You have it be used for trying to fucking cheat a famous manga artist out of a
Beautiful.
few $100, just because you hate him.
It is something unique.
Recreators was a really really surprising show by the
That one
author,
hit me out of nowhere. I
right?
mean, the Black Lagoon guy collaborated with
Yeah, no,
studio, right?
it was written, like the character designs were done, and the whole thing was written by Ray Hiroi, who is the genius behind Black Lagoon. Who, like, if Black Lagoon had been made in 2012, it would have been the number one spot on this
Oh,
list.
we
It's
bow
one of my
towards Ray Hiroe 3 times around lunch.
yes, I think like what I guess you could go east or west from here. We're across the
Yeah,
world
just
from
make sure you're not
Japan,
going
so
at the fucking Antarctic and you're
yeah, no,
good.
yeah, yeah. No, the Recreators was just more of his really great work. He's a writer who really likes to have characters fight a whole lot and then kind of sit down and jaw for a little while. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing the greatest job describing what's so special about his writing style, but like he has very really very well developed ideas about the nature of evil as we see in Black Lagoon and the nature of fiction as we see in Recreators. Also on this list, Durarara. Man, that
So
show's
I
fucking
forgot to say.
cool.
So here's my thing about Durarara. Here's my endorsement of fucking Durarara.
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately, until I checked before we made this episode, forgot it was part of this decade because in my head at this point it was one of those like elder fucking
It's just always been
foundations
there.
anime. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're a kid, you watch DBZ, you watch Durarara. Yeah, yeah, and it does the thing. Can I cut a few in here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, honorable mentions. So when we talk about what it feels to be young earlier, which is something that you would think that with all the fucking high school fixation all these fucking shows have, by the way, that more than one or two a year would figure out.
Mm-hmm.
But something that caught on to a bit that waving for me, and again a comedy. The whole Kaguya-sama thing, like just being so in your head and up your own ass, like I
Just
have the
overthinking everything.
I know exactly how I'm going to do this. I plotted my life out for the next 10 years. If Sam can relate a lot to listlessness, I can relate a lot to this is the plan. And I really enjoyed that about it.
Kaguya-sama was on my list too. I wanted to it's as I said before, I absolutely fucking adore the information warfare genre of manga and anime, and I especially love when it is parodied in such a perfect way as it is in Kaguya-sama Love is War. Just these people overthinking everything to such a degree that they get in their own way to such a degree that like none of their plans actually seem to succeed, as smart as they are, because they are so amazingly up their own ass and in their own head and in their own way.
Also, probably the best deployment of a narrator in anime or manga I've
Yes,
seen in a while.
the
Like, a lot of them
narrator
just
is
dodge
a
it now.
character and he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and points to the voice actor on that mother.
God, it's also
I'm
fucking
sorry,
great.
the Seiyu, whatever.
I think my favorite single moment from that, my favorite, it was a montage. It was the he's lying montage where the narrator
Yeah.
explains. Where the narrator explains specifically how untruthful all of the characters are being to one another in a certain scene where they're talking about studying for an exam.
Add something. This will be a surprisingly, actually not surprising at all. Without even scouring at length, I liked Madoka about as much as everyone else liked Madoka. I liked all this other shit more.
To my shame, I missed Madoka.
Madoka was a good time.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, thank you for being a lover of our dulcet sound of humor to be watching an anime podcast for some reason. Panty and Stocking, which is a unique show.
I feel like it took a sec to get going, but it was great once it did.
Yeah, it took a while to rev up. That may have even been the only thing that really robbed of this list is that you're just sort of like twiddling your thumbs just for a second, looking down at them. But it went places.
Yeah.
It went fun places. It went places that have little tributes to Western animation. It went places that I have no idea what kind of fucking mushrooms they are on, but they were definitely mushrooms.
Kind of Gainax's last stand. I don't really know what else of note they've done since.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to see some studio that like, stuck in a creative holding pattern. Like they still did a good movies with Anno, but
Okay.
you need a second thing.
You do.
In my humble opinion. I'm a Denarda, professional creative consultant. Let me hit all the mainstream ones before I hit my little babies. Pet Sucking, Madoka good. So this is picking up steam, so I'm not sure of its current popularity level, but there's another historical fiction thing which may become my new fucking, I don't know, manga fetish, whatever. But Kingdom.
Kingdom.
And it's an action military just take on the unification of China. One of the unifications of China.
There have been quite a few throughout the centuries.
The way it dramatizes it, you would think that it never splintered again, but I guess you have to make everything feel really in the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom is a lot of fun. I think what maybe separates it from Vinland Saga is that maybe it's a little more punk rock in its attitude towards characterization events, which is fine, and it still works. Obviously, it's on my honorable mentions list, but it doesn't take me to the transcendent world or whatever the fuck. But Kingdom is a really good time. The art seriously upgrades over time, which worries me because I think they're working the artist to death. And it almost has a genre change halfway through because like basically the first must be I guess quarter of this thing now because this thing's been going forever, but first quarter of this mother is basically a martial arts story. Like it's also historical fiction, but the conventions of conflict and emotive action is very much concerned about the strength of my style.
Mm-hmm.
And then the military history thing comes up, and the first arc is fun, but that I think to me this is when Kingdom really becomes Kingdom.
Okay.
Like it achieves that sort of scope, and it's very good at making macro stuff feel interesting by having people yelling loudly about their honor. So that doesn't always work. It works here. Um. All right, on to my baby. So I liked Al Noah Zero. Fuck you, people. I guess.
Loved Al Noah Zero.
I don't know.
I think it was probably I think it probably helped that we watched it all the way through after it had aired and did not have to wait an entire like however long in between season 1 and season 2.
Oh, we dodged the Last Jedi fanboy problem.
I guess so. I fucking love the protagonist. I think
Oh,
that's
he's so
probably
great.
the thing. He's such a fucking Chad. I love him.
He makes me use the word based without irony. He's got a thing. Another one of my babies was a Samurai Flamenco,
Guillotine gorilla.
which
Guillotine
they
gorilla.
show.
Guillotine gorilla.
There are other brainy ways you could describe Samurai Flamenco.
I'm not coming to work tomorrow. I might not even be alive.
But the important thing is that it is people. It's a show. It's a bunch of lifetime tokusatsu fans basically thinking, okay, so what if we flip the table every 2 episodes? Like, we make them think it's a fucking kick-ass thing, then you make them think it's more endearing than that, then it's a parody, then it's a just Gurren Lagann.
Then it is the thing.
There's a thing, then it's a fucking psychological thriller. Samurai Flamenco goes places. It's a great ride. It hovers in the Power Rangers parody around a little bit too long, but the rest is great.
I feel as though it did not make the waves that I really wanted it to make. Like it through
Like
no
that-
fault of its own. It just wasn't. It wasn't as influential as I kind of expected or wanted it to be.
The market is merciless. I wish it was more influential as well. I think that maybe some people may have felt the joke was on them. I don't think it was in the show, but I think some people took it that way, like, oh, you're just fucking with me.
Yeah, I hate when people are like that's like it's why so many people hated The Last Jedi.
Luckily, there is no overlap between our anime enjoying audience and the people complaining about The Last Jedi like it stabbed their mother. There are people who are going to be more offended by that Last Jedi thing
Than the
than the K-pop thing, than the thing I said during Arrow Manga Sensei, than my whole religion riff in that one episode. This is gonna be why I
the
get
fucking
canceled.
one that does it.
Yeah.
I'm putting kind of a rising star that like exploded in popularity this last year. Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, which I saw. Like I think we actually it was on a segment on the show early on in our run. We saw it, liked it, didn't think that much of it, and then someone, maybe it was the community, was like, "Hey, you should maybe go back and watch more of this. It's more than you think it is." And God, it's so much more than you expect it to be. It's so fucking sad. God, it's
Demon Slayer, for my money, is a very special moment in my history as a critic because it's the first time I underrated something, and everyone's gonna kick the shit out of me for fucking years if this show goes anywhere. Say, hey, it's a dipshit who thought Demon Slayer was okay.
You know what? Todd in the Shadows is wrong all the time, and he's still great, and he still has his audience. So like, if he can be, if he can be wrong about expecting something to go away and then it doesn't, then like, hey, we can too.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
that concludes all of my honorable mentions. You got more?
All right. So if crosses over in 2009 in my timeline, sometimes it's buggy. Sue me, fucking sue me. But I was always an advocate of the Zetsubo Sensei fucking subseries is like line of comedy that just always tickled me. The description Japanese South Park may sound crasser than it is. Doesn't really go down that route, but it's more the frenetic nature of the jokes and the pop culture riffs, and its approach to the youth as idiots surrounded by dumber adults. And I enjoyed it a lot. I also recommend that. And now, on to Sam's number one.
So my number one entry begins with a story. I think it is the summer in between my I think sophomore and junior year of college. I'm like sitting there on the couch. I haven't watched a whole lot of anime in the last couple of years. I've like kind of fallen out of it after having experimented with being a weeb in high school. Um and now when I've just accepted it about myself after, however many years. Like I remember in high school I was watching like a whole bunch of anime on like all the various streaming sites, just like deciding like, yeah, I'm gonna get into this. And then I kind of fell off it in college. This changed one summer when I'm on my couch just sitting on my laptop. I've got one of my friends and my brother are like elsewhere in the living room kind of bullshitting. um and I'm sitting there with my eyes affixed to the screen. I am holding either side of my laptop screen. I might have been smoking some weed. Um, with my hands holding either side of the laptop screen for dear life, because I am watching something that I'm never going to forget. I am watching Attack on Titan for the first time. And this show is about to change my whole fucking life. This
Oh.
it is about to become one of my favorite pieces of media of all time. It's going to reward my patience and my faith in years to come. There's going to be people. There's going to be people who have other thoughts about it, people who doubt it, people who react poorly to the hype. Um, and
I
it
wonder
just
what it's like to live so wrong.
and it just keeps fucking delivering every fucking time. Uh, for me, it's like both as a perfect mystery, as a perfectly exciting, fresh, like, oh god, nothing is like Attack on Titan. That's like one of the things that I love so much about it. I remember, one of those serious fucking 3DMG Sakuga scenes from the first series. I could not think of anything. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It completely changed the game for me, and it completely changed the game for anime. It and Sword Art Online are it's no coincidence. These are the two most influential anime of the last decade. For better and then for worse. Attack on Titan for better because of the energy that it just brought. You can see visual cues, plot cues, character cues present in like almost every facet of the medium these days. Maybe it's absent from some slightly from some genres that are definitely not adjacent to it. But God, for my money, it is. And where it goes in the manga too.
Something else.
It has become clear without spoiling too much, where it is in the manga now, that he basically wrote this thing in its entirety before the first chapter was ever even released in I think Monthly Shonen Besatsu magazine.
Oh shit, you had the name.
Oh yeah. Um and with every new chapter, after I want to say the 2/3 marker. We'll see. It's not even concluded yet. One new question has been answered in a way that is both like thought provoking, makes you go like ah, and makes sense given given the seeds that had already been planted before. Even stuff that seems to come out of left field. If you go back, he has such an attention to detail. Is so very very careful with his plotting and like planting plot points to harvest them later. Every little surprise has its genesis in a chapter 50 chapters prior. Um, Both in the way that the mysteries in this show are created and then paid off on, the way that the characters have developed. Honest to fucking god, Aaron Yeager might just be my favorite anime slash manga protagonist of all time, just because of the fascinating journey that he has gone on from this sort of from what you could consider a generic shonen protagonist who has kind of generic shonen protagonist goals to what he is now in the manga. And I cannot really tell you where his character has gone since then, but it's both fascinating and sad and exciting to sort of see it.
Show leaves a welt.
It's god damn, I just love this series so goddamn much. And it is the probably at this point one of my favorite pieces of media. There's only so much that I can say about it at this point without getting into like serious spoiler territory, because it is very much one of those shows where like it's full of surprises. Every new chapter is a new surprise. But I love this show as a kind of commentary on two different things, on both human hatred and its origins, and nationalism and its origins, and how like the two of them are inextricably linked, and how one comes from another, and hatred creates itself over and over again, and nationalism is always this result of tragedy that becomes hatred, that becomes nationalism, that then creates new tragedy that becomes hatred, that becomes nationalism. And it's both like a great piece of I guess you could call it political satire, as well as just an exciting fucking like both horror story, and it becomes a conspiracy thriller. God, there's no facet of this manga that does not have me just floored every time I pick it up. Like whether it be the beginning chapters of it, and the story that it eventually becomes, which is something completely different from where it begins. I just read it. It's so good. It's only 125 chapters. He releases shit every month. It's not even that hard to like get yourself caught up on. You'd be doing yourself a disservice by not.
Let's see. 3 points. I think it's significant and fitting that this is the show that is seeing off the decade for us in general and kicking off the new decade for this program.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has earned that place in the anime spectrum, and both in terms of just impact and goodness. Two little points I didn't hit during my set piece on Attack on Titans and news would be sort of an Attack on Titan sandwich. My first point is that while I recommend watching anything on the top 10, I specifically recommend that you read or watch Attack on Titan before it becomes one of those things where everyone knows what fucking happens and you sort of lose that in a way. Like,
Yes.
you have a chance to get the run in before Vader whips out the little 23andMe, you know what I mean? That's one thing. And another point is I think I told the story last time, but I'm going to tell just the story of my premium wrongness in this milieu. And I will never get more wrong at once about one thing, but earlier on in my life, I was at some convention or bookstore, and they had like preview pamphlets and chapters of just different comic books and manga and shit. And I got a chapter sampler, just one chapter, early Attack on Titan, maybe one of the first two things. And my snot was like, eh, and I just basically chucked the thing. And now, here is me for the media gods. It's like, I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
Oh, I think I should finish the story that I kind of began this entry with by saying this is the show that made me a fucking weeb again. And I'm so fucking thankful for that. This is the show that got me back into anime after I'd kind of fallen off of it. Where, like, just life happened to me. I stopped watching so much. And this is what kind of got me back on it. I wanted, like, after I was done with that first season, we had that giant ass dry spell in between season one and two. I wanted more, so I started fucking devouring anime and manga because I just wanted it. And I can credit this show for so much. This is the show that got me angry enough to change things about my life when I was like kind of in rough places here and there. This is
You got to fight.
it sort of inspired in me this kind of fighting instinct. Yeah, it's a show that has made me think about like the state of the world today and like how we got to where we are. You can see it as a parable for a whole lot of things. Things that happened 100 years ago and things that happened just 20 years ago. It's got so much. You can write and write and write and write about this manga, and people have, and they still do. That I'm really appreciative to have been a part of the Shingeki no Kyojin subreddit. There's a whole lot of people on that thing that like
Amazing shit posting.
a fantastic shit posting just to begin with, and also they this coon. And they also a lot of them are like smarter and more observant than I am, and will like point out all the stuff that I missed because you can totally miss stuff in this. Like I'm gonna go back and read the whole of this once it's done, and I'm probably gonna need like 3 or 4 read-throughs to get everything, and then even then I'm probably gonna miss some things because he's got so much little details in there that like make mwah.
Alright, so I'm going to close this out with this. I'm never going to say it again under gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Anime is good and getting better. This has been Weeaboo Hell. It's Weeaboo Hell. I am Denard Dale, aka Blind Monkey, aka Darius Dyson sometimes for some reason.
Only at cons.
Only at cons.
I am Sam Legault, aka Mute Monkey, aka just Legault these days. I feel like more people call me Legault than Sam these days. It's
odd.
It's been an interesting metamorphosis, just for various different reasons in various different circles.
This has been Weeaboo Hell. It's Weeaboo
Weeaboo
Hell. Drop that fucking music! I only paid him $40 for this song!